Fair ball. Hey, welcome. Episode 45, guys. Cover your balls. We're a little late. I have an ice pack underneath my computer. It's hot as balls in Ohio. If you're hanging out in Ohio, I'm live from Columbus. Mitch is live from Jackson High School broadcasting a game tonight. Mitch, how you feeling?
Man, I don't know what I'm more excited for right now, to cover the people's balls in 80-degree weather or to broadcast a baseball game of players on turf in 80-degree weather. Either way, baseball players may want to have their balls covered, but maybe today's an okay day to not have your balls tightly covered.
I agree with
Unless
that.
it's sporting balls, of course. Then we're going to cover those very tightly.
All balls need covered tightly.
True.
All of them.
True.
Well, Mitch, this is only going to be 30 minutes, so let's get this thing rolling.
All right.
Up on the screen, you see, and I'll zoom in a little here so people see it. That's Kevin Love right there. That's his jersey. I just wanted to, before we get to the next segment, I wanted to point that out. Mitch, it's not 4 o'clock, it's 4:08, but at 4 o'clock we do our top four at 4. You ready to rock with us?
Born ready.
Our top 4 for 4 guys. Top 4 favorite Kevin Loves, or Mitch, your top favorite Kevin Love moments. Either one, I'm cool with. Can you give me some of your favorite Kevin Loves?
Oh, absolutely. My favorite Kevin Love coming in at number 4 would be Kevin Love 2016 season. He played probably the greatest 15 seconds of defense in the NBA history and in the NBA Finals history that you'll ever see again when he guarded Steph Curry in Game 7. That's why it's number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Fat Kevin Love. Fat Kevin Love was an absolute unit in Minnesota. You know, if you're watching us live right now on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, your mom's basement, your dad's attic, I don't know, the public library, you see Fat Kevin Love in the corner right there palming a ball. And, you know, he was my spirit animal when I was younger and used to be really fat. But coming in at number 2 is Banana Republic Kevin Love. Ooh. Because he's a tremendous model for Banana Republic and really, you know, kind of brought that fashion and clothing line back, put him on the map. And, you know, now big kind of looking into Banana Republic. And number 1, Kevin Love has to be Kevin Love on Instagram with his dog and his supermodel fiance, soon-to-be wife, Kate Bach. Look, his dog is adorable, loves him like a dog should love a human. And then he's also marrying a supermodel. I don't know how that's not your top Kevin Love, because he's just winning at life while making $30 million a year, dating a supermodel, and having a dog that adores him.
Wow. That was a solid list. That was really solid. I did not know that he was dating a supermodel. Not surprised by that. Kevin Love's a good-looking man.
Very good-looking man. There's no shame in saying that as a guy.
I don't think so.
If there's guys out there that feel uncomfortable when you say like certain guys look good in a non like, oh man, I date them type of guy, like then those guys are insecure. And Kevin Love is one man that is genuinely just a great-looking guy.
Exactly, and you know what that means. Both of us are secure because we both think he's good looking, and that's an okay thing, Mitch.
Absolutely.
At number 4 for me, I have the 2000 and I believe 17 Kevin Love. No, 2015 Kevin Love. I believe that's it. When he got his shoulder ripped out by Kelly Olynyk.
2016 season. Yep.
Yep. He had that sucker ripped straight out. I was really disappointed about it, but I like that Kevin Love. He didn't take a whole lot of shots at Kelly Olynyk after that. He, honest to God, had that happen to a real superstar, there would have been like a real problem in the league.
Oh no!
Like, right?
Absolutely. Honestly, if that was me, I would have fought him with the other arm.
Yeah,
but Kevin Love ran in the locker room.
He's not an alpha. He's not an alpha male. Kevin Love's not chasing anybody at all. Maybe into Banana Republic. At number 3, I have Kevin Love from the finals when he was being just trashed by the media and probably by his team in the locker room. He came out and he didn't complain at all. Didn't bitch. Kept coming back to work. And honestly, he had one of the better defensive stops ever in NBA Finals history. I have that at number 3. At number 2, I have Kevin Love from the Timberwolves here to the right over there. I mean, just look at him. Anybody who can palm a ball like that. Kevin Love back in the day was averaging like 25 and 15. That's a lot. He was basically what Chris Bosh was to the Raptors, and what Kevin Garnett was to the Wolves before he got there. And
he was a love.
He was a love machine. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. He was a love machine. And my number 1 Kevin Love is this Kevin Love. Look at that guy. Just look at him. Just like, oh man, just a big potato. And I love it. I love it. Like, think about that. He went. What?
You say baked potato?
Maybe. I mean, look. Doesn't he look like one? Like without the foil? Like, it. I'm a huge Kevin Love fan. You got this jersey for me for Christmas because I'm a huge Kevin Love fan. But in this picture, he looks like a baked potato. And I'm not going to retract that statement. So that's
you shouldn't.
Our top.
You're right.
That's our top 4 at 4. Mitch, I didn't send you anything over today, so you have no idea what we're talking about. Which makes this even more fun because as soon as I can shut off this music and this thing stops spinning on my screen, here it is. Mitch, I wanted to interview you today. I want to ask you some questions about being a broadcaster. You have broadcasted about 14 to 20 games this year already. You've had a week in which you broadcasted like 7 days in a row. What's been the biggest takeaway from being in the booth calling some baseball games so far?
Biggest takeaway is, I mean, I've done basketball before, so this is the first time I've been able to do baseball. And being a former player, it's just so much fun. I don't want to say it's easy because it's really not easy. To be honest, it's actually really hard this year because there wasn't a season last year, as most people know. And like people just refuse to put the rosters online. So like I literally have about a 20-minute, 15-minute window to memorize these other players, the positions they play, and have everything written down before the first pitch of the game. But like just being able to come back to where I played at Jackson and broadcast these games for the Polar Bears, man, it's so much fun. Like I'm already like looking forward. I have 8-9 more games left. I'm already upset that it's coming to an end this quickly, but it's a blast. And I also just want to say like big shout out to you and all our listeners for dealing with me stepping away to be able to do this. I know it's another quick episode today because I have to broadcast at 6:00 tonight, but I mean, obviously without your cooperation and putting the moving the podcast here and there, like wouldn't be possible. So big credit to you and everybody out in the ball pit too.
Well, it's easy when you're a great broadcaster. I don't know if you guys are in the ball pit and you have not heard Mitch call a game, you have to hop on YouTube and watch a game live because 1, the graphics are incredible, and 2, I mean, it sounds like a guy who's been doing it for years in the booth, and that's why I wanted to ask you some of these questions because I see all these comments all over social media, and some of our people who've never met you who are like, man, this guy's really good. So shout out to you for really just rolling with the punches. It's tough, especially when you don't know, the players that are going to be in the game that you're announcing. It's kind of tough. So when you have to do that really quick like that, just getting you practice for the Cleveland Indians or the Cleveland Steamboats, whatever we're going to call them someday.
Yeah, Cleveland Steamers.
That wouldn't it be dope? Oh my gosh. For those of you who have ever shopped at Homage, they have some pretty cool sportswear. And the Indians farm team's the Columbus Clippers. Mitch, I almost sent you these pictures today. The Columbus Clippers, some of their gear is so sweet. We should just we need to figure out a cool mascot for Cleveland for our baseball team since it's not gonna be able to the Indians anymore. You have any good got any good picks out there? Anything rolling around in your noggin?
My only 2 picks are anything besides the Cleveland Spiders and Cleveland baseball team. Because if it's the Cleveland baseball team, it's going to be the most boring thing ever. And if it's Cleveland Spiders, I'm going to be offended by that actually, and I'll actually sue the Indians because I'm actually I don't even know how to say it, but I'm afraid of spiders. And actually, that's extremely offensive for them to change the name from something they think is offensive to something that would actually offend me. So as long as it's not those 2 and they have a cool looking logo or cool design, I mean, they're keeping the same colors. So listen, it's still Jacobs Field. I know you know that. It's still Jacobs Field. It's always going to be the Cleveland. Okay. And to anybody out there offended that I still call them the Indians, cry about it and go tell someone that cares, because I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Honestly, I'm pretty heartbroken that we're losing. Because I never looked at it in a negative connotation. Just a whole bunch of woke people. That's why our Indians are going to be gone. But
woke people in cancel culture.
Yeah, 3 of those woke people have already unsubscribed from our podcast. It seems like each episode we put out, we got one less subscriber, which means we're doing our jobs.
We are.
But turning directions here, in fact, back in the day, when we first started, cover your balls, this is what we did.
Hey, switch it up.
And so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to switch it up. We're going to head on over to NBA. Mitch, it happened. It's finally happened. The villain has taken over the throne. The Brooklyn Nets are the number seeded team in the East right now, and they have so many interchangeable parts. None of their superstars are playing. How are they doing this?
It's because all 3 of their superstars aren't playing. That's how. The stars, 2 of them or 1 of them, have to rely on others, where when all 3 of them are going to be on the court, it's going to be interesting to see how they get these other guys involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you have one, like we saw with Kyrie Irving or just James Harden, teams are going to double team them. You have to delegate and pass the ball around, which, by the way, whether you like them or not, Harden and Irving are phenomenal passers. They're just phenomenal distributing the basketball, which I think could be one of the reasons that when all 3 are back, it doesn't hurt them at all that all 3 superstars are on the court. But I think that teams being able to lock in on 1 or just 2 players the entire time allows other guys to get involved. Joe Harris is a lethal shooter. Blake Griffin has revitalized his career in just the 2-3 weeks he's been in Brooklyn. Listen, I think Steve Nash deserves some credit too, man. Steve Nash has been put through the ringer, I think, already when it comes to dealing with personalities.
Good point.
And also just like all the BS he's had to deal with. I mean, I don't know many coaches that could put up with Kyrie Irving and him just not showing up to practice, him not feeling like playing. We talked about mysterious injuries all of a sudden for James Harden and Kevin Durant, whether they're legit or not. So big credit to him and Mike D'Antoni, who's his assistant. But listen, they finally overtook the Eastern Conference. I don't see them relinquishing the number 1 seed anytime soon. I think they will be the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And the Eastern Conference playoffs is going to go through Brooklyn, and that's how it should be. Yeah,
no, you made a lot of great points right now. I'm looking at a lot of their season statistics, and it's mind-boggling to me that Kyrie Irving has played twice as many, like injury-prone Kyrie Irving has played twice as many games as Kevin Durant. That's kind of surreal that they are the number 1 seed. I definitely haven't given Kyrie as much. Honestly, I've always felt like I've given Kyrie an appropriate amount of credit. But in this instance, maybe I'm not giving him enough credit because, I mean, they're winning games. Like that's all there is to it. I rather be Kyrie in the Brooklyn Nets and win games and be Bradley Beal, put up 39 points a game, and lose a lot. So obviously Kyrie's doing something right other than scoring the basketball for the first time in his career. I mean, he's averaging 6.5 assists a game. He's never done anything like that. He's actually leading his team in steals, which is not at a high rate. It's only 1.3 steals a game. But if you look at their top leaders in every category, you'll have Kyrie leading in points, leading in assists, and leading in steals. And their top rebounder, and this just shows how deep they are as a team, Mitch, is DeAndre Jordan. Can you take a stab at what DeAndre Jordan is averaging for rebounds per game right now?
Well, I'm going to pretend that I don't have the stats in front of me. And I honestly, knowing how big he was, I would have guessed more than what he actually is averaging. I would have guessed he's averaging close to 10.
Yes, because usually everybody has somebody that's close to 10 on
right.
Most teams, right? But the fact that he's averaging 7.5 rebounds a game, he's your top rebounder. And obviously he's the top in blocks as well with 1.2. If you look at, they have had, let me count here. They have had 61 total guys take the court for them this year. 61. They've had 61 guys. Now, typically, if somebody would tell you that, you'd be like, wow, they probably suck, right?
Right.
It's kind of like when we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles in football. When they played the Browns in I don't know what week it was, but by the time they had played the Browns, they had 9 different starting O-line rotations. Anytime you don't have consistency in whatever sport it is with your best players playing, you usually don't win a lot of games, and they've won twice as many games as they've lost. This is it's bewildering to me. I don't know if I'll ever quite understand this because usually stats give you a little more to work with, but I don't know how they've acquired a 41-20 record. But like you said, give credit to Steve Nash. He's getting the job done. He's just getting the job done. He's managing the personalities. We haven't heard a whole lot come out of Brooklyn. So, well done. Well done, Steve Nash. Now we obviously know that this is going through Brooklyn at this point. Who's the best? Who has the best chance of really stretching the Nets out?
Do I say the smart thing, or do I stick to what I said earlier in our NBA preview this year and just try to stick with my pride here? That's where I'm at, because if I'm just going off of what I said in the NBA preview, obviously I would have to say it's the Miami Heat. Miami right now, obviously not playing as well as I ever thought they would. So I think you and I are both in the same spot for our two teams we picked to do really well in the Eastern Conference this year. They just obviously aren't playing as well. But Jordan, I will say it's the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that Giannis being able to have the same type of skill set to an extent. Obviously, Kevin Durant is far more superior when it comes to shooting the ball and being an all-around playmaker. But Giannis is close to the same size, if not the same size.
Yeah.
That's often why Kevin Durant is so great, because you don't have somebody that's 6'11" that can guard a 3 on the court. Giannis can't. Then you look at Chris Middleton. He's one of your go-to scorers. He's out on the wing for James Harden. Neither of those guys play defense, so that, in my opinion, that can cancel out. And then you have Drew Holiday and Kyrie Irving. I just think the Milwaukee Bucks' depth and their size inside ultimately will be a reason they can hang in a series with the Nets. But Jordan, if the Nets are fully healthy, nobody's beating them.
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, they could make a million mistakes. Even like 3 weeks ago when we were talking, our conversation went a little something like this. For the Nets to win a title, everything is going to have to go right. And I can't believe in 3 weeks. It seems like every 3 weeks I seem dumber than I seemed the 3 weeks before, because the Nets continually make me look dumb, along with the Celtics. I think Milwaukee's a really good pick because they have some size. I just don't think a team that's deep is necessarily the best team for them. I mean, I guess I'm going to go with the Miami Heat, just because they're stars. I trust Jimmy Butler more than I trust Giannis.
That's fair.
And I really trust Bam Adebayo. I don't really trust Chris Middleton. He's really not he's not a 2 on a championship team. He's just not. He's a really good player. He's an all-star. But I mean, the Nets have 2 MVPs, and Kyrie Irving, if he could stay healthy for an entire season, could be an MVP as like a 2 on a team. That's possible.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. So, you're going against a team that, honestly, I don't think Giannis is better than any of those 3, as long as 2 of those guys are together. So, I think I'm going to go with Miami, but I think Miami, honest to God, I don't think a team is going to win a game in the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Nets, unless maybe I don't know. No, the Heat are still my pick. I'm so upset that the Nets are going to win this thing. No one's going to stop them.
In the Eastern Conference, someone's going to stop them.
You think the Lakers or the Suns or the Clippers or the Nuggets can beat them at this point?
I think the first team you said is the only option there is. I don't think anybody else has a shot to beat them. But the Lakers have to be fully healthy. LeBron's going to come back and play at the level he was. AD has to be healthy. Andre Drummond needs to play to the ability we know he's capable of. And then I think there's a real good shot that's a phenomenal NBA Finals that has a chance to go 7 games. But other than that, if the Lakers don't make it or they're not fully healthy, then no, it's a wrap already.
See, you know what? Just the more I'm thinking about it, if Paul George cannot choke this away, the Clippers could beat the Nets. I could see that, but Paul George has to play like a superstar. I don't think that's so far-fetched. How about the Nuggets, Mitch? They lose Jamal Murray 2 weeks ago. They're still winning. They're 40-21. Honestly, I don't know if the Lakers are going to catch them. The Lakers are 4 games back right now. They still don't have LeBron. Do you give the Nuggets any hope of shaking anything up with just the... I don't want to say just the Joker. How disrespectful to the Nuggets. But really just the Joker when you're thinking of... I mean, to win in this league at this point, you have to have at least 2 superstars, right? Yeah. Even then, we're thinking like, okay, where's the third piece? Guys, this isn't enough, right? Mm-hmm. So,
right.
Can they win a series?
I think they can, but like I said, I think their worst matchup would be the Lakers in round 1.
And right now, that's it. And it looks like that's for sure going to be. I'd be stunned if the Mavericks caught the Lakers in their 2.5 back of them, and I'd be surprised if the Lakers caught the Nuggets because I don't think the Nuggets are going to slow. I don't think they're going to slow down, frankly.
Yeah, not 4 games. Not slip up 4 games. I don't know. Every team's different. I know that Cavs have 11 games left in the season, so every team's probably between 13 and 10 games remaining in the regular season. So you're talking Nuggets realistically would have to lose, 8 of their next 10. Lakers would have to win 8 of their next 10 or 9 of their next 10 for this to really have a shot at happening. But listen, if they don't play the Lakers for some odd reason, if Luka Doncic puts the Mavericks on the back and the Lakers kind of falter here, I think the Nuggets would beat the Mavericks. I do. I do. They don't have that number 2 without Murray now. I mean, that 1-2 punch and even that 3. But let's not act like Michael Porter Jr. isn't a young and up-and-coming star. We saw him last year bubble play really well. We know they traded for Aaron Gordon, who, listen, I think he's a phenomenal performer. And by that, I mean he's a highlight reel dunker in games. I'm not sure how great he is as an NBA player, but I mean, they still have good players. They have guys I would take on my team, right? I mean, they just don't have, like you said, superstar 1, superstar 2, and now most teams have 3. They obviously don't have 2 and obviously not 3, but they have a plethora of guys who can still shoot and make things happen. And with the Joker, when you have a 7-footer distributing the ball, it's a lot different than a point guard.
It's majestic is what it is. Every time he passes, I think he's like is it a minotaur? Is that what a horse is with human legs? What are those called? It has 2 human legs up front and 2. I can't think what it is, but it's just majestic when I watch him play because he looks so dopey, right? And then he gets on the court and he's so fat. Like his upper body, like how he moves is so fast. Maybe not his lower body because he's a big guy. He's 7 feet tall. How fast are you going to be able to move? But everything else, it's like straight guard skills, and it's unbelievable. This to note, they have the best record in a division in all of basketball. I know that it's not broken down by divisions anymore. It's just the Eastern and Western Conference, but they still consider divisions in NBA. Those teams in their division are the Nuggets, obviously, Portland, Utah, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota. They've only lost 1 game against any of those teams.
What a joke of a division that is.
Yeah, but they have Utah. They have Utah in Portland right now.
Well, I just say those bottom 2 teams you named are 2 of the worst teams in the NBA this year.
Yeah, but you do have the Jazz in there, and you have Portland in there.
Right. And by the way, Jazz are the only team so far that's clinched a playoff spot. I don't know if you knew that or if anybody out there knew that, but the Jazz already clinched a playoff spot, and
we haven't talked about them at all. I named 4 teams from the West that could threaten the Lakers, and I named 3. That could threaten the Lakers. Or no, that could threaten the Nets originally. And I didn't even name them. And they're 44 and 17.
Well, listen, I don't think you're wrong for doing that. I think we touched on this weeks ago, and I'm going to stick to this until they prove me wrong. The Utah Jazz remind me of the 2015-2016 Atlanta Hawks, a team that exploded during the regular season, looked like they were really, really good, but you know damn well when they play LeBron James or they play another superstar, they're not going to be able to stop that team. That's exactly what I think we're seeing here again.
I think they're better than the Hawks. I don't think they're quite the Hawks. They're better, though, because remember that.
I agree. But I just mean as a team that you really didn't expect to be, a 1 or 2 seed that has come onto the scene. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They're going to be, Actually, they're not going to be. The Suns are only one game behind them for the number one
I
spot.
know.
But
And the Clippers are only 2 behind them. So
right when we did our NBA preview this year, it was all right. Who's going to be number one of the West? The Lakers or the Clippers?
mm-hmm.
Like we didn't say the Jazz, and nobody said the Atlanta Hawks back in 2015-16. So we'll see what they do in the playoffs. I'm still not a firm believer, and I know that makes me a hater, as people would say nowadays.
No, I don't think it makes you a hater. I just think we're smart enough to realize that playoff basketball is not the same as regular season basketball, and it's been like that always. So I mean, they do have Donovan Mitchell, and I realize that, but like he's not enough at all. I will say this: they have the biggest point differential in the league at 8.9, which means when they get up, they put you away. And they're really well coached. So
they are. Quinn Snyder's a great coach.
Mm-hmm. If they can put teams away after they get up, because they jump on you, and I don't know if any team plays harder than the Utah Jazz, which is why we're a little bullish on them, because when it comes playoff time, Mitch, everybody plays hard.
Everybody, yep, exactly.
So, like, your best attribute can't be to play hard, because that's going to be a wash come playoff time. Everybody's going to be diving on the ground for the ball.
Everybody. Jordan, I have one question, though. We talked about Quinn Snyder being a great head coach. Who is going to get Coach of the Year in the Western Conference? Because, in my opinion, it's between him and Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. There's no other candidates, in my opinion. It has to be one of the two teams, right?
Then I think it has to. My pick personally would be Monty Williams.
Yes, I agree.
I understand that Chris Paul, is the transformative piece that has put them over the top. But, when you get a veteran like that with a younger core of guys, and you get them to mesh that well, it's unbelievable. They've done this without a hiccup. They won 8 games in the bubble. And all we said was, oh, man, well, they played garbage teams. And a lot of that was true. They didn't play very good teams in the bubble, because we brought 10 teams into the playoffs. So that means the bottom 4 teams aren't ever always that great. But with that being said, yeah, he would be my pick, personally. I think it'd be a shame if he didn't get it. I mean, I think they're going to end up with the number 1 seed, especially after that game was it last night where Chris Paul went off at the game and closed it? I think it was last night.
One of the two.
Gosh.
Or 2 nights ago. Yeah, he just said, "Hey, New York, big middle finger to you."
By the way, New York is 9-1 in their last 10 games. They didn't go into Madison Square Garden and beat a regular Dolanless Knicks.
You're right.
This is a pretty good team.
The team tied for 4th in the East.
That's pretty unbelievable, to be honest. I mean, they're 21-11 at home. It's a really. I mean, it's. Julius Randle, Mitch. What do you think of Julius Randle?
He is playing at a higher level than I thought we would really ever see him. I always thought he would be a very good NBA player. Mm-hmm. He was on the Lakers, and I thought kind of underperformed, but I also wondered if that was because of who was around him and, being in LA as a rookie. Listen, man, he has, I don't want to say transformed his career because he's so young still, but man, he has really shown that he can be a guy, like the guy on the New York Knicks, because besides him, who's next? RJ Barrett? I mean, Julius Randle is the man, and he was an all-star this year, and I can be honest with you, I didn't see the New York Knicks even coming close to competing for a playoff spot, let alone a top 4 playoff spot in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, how much do you attribute to them having Tom Thibodeau as their coach now?
Oh, a lot. I think Tibbs has come in and, we saw what he did in Chicago back in the 2010s to 13s. With D Rose. Kirk Heinrich, you're one of your favorite players all the time. And Luol Deng, those guys, and they were just a great team defensively.
I loved Luol Deng.
And Taj Gibson, Carlos Boozer, that big white guy, wore number 44. I think his last name was Miller. But, I mean, they're a great defensive team, and I think when you look at the East right now, as I'm looking at their point differential is only 2. Yeah, they're letting their opponent get over 105 or almost 105 a game, but Jordan, I still think when I've watched them this year on TV, they just lock in, and they're locked in, and that's the kind of coach that Tibbs is. He demands that from you for 48 minutes. And after that, Go do whatever you want in New York City. I think that's what it is. He said, "Hey, you come work for me. I will treat you guys like you should be treated." And I think that's why the New York Knicks are up there as one of the top 4 surprise teams this year.
Honest to God, they're probably my most surprising team outside of the Suns.
Yeah, I think I was going to say those two. I said the Hawks were going to suck. The Hawks are tied with the Knicks for 4th, so I was wrong on that. And then I still am shocked at the fact that the Utah Jazz are the number 1 overall seed right now in the West. That still surprises me personally. I didn't think they were that great to make that kind of jump after last year, but I mean, those are definitely my 4 surprise teams.
I like it, Mitch. Well, hey, you're about to broadcast a game. We got to get off here, but before we leave, do you have time for our last segment?
Oh, I have time. All right. I have time.
All right, Mitch. Well, here we go. Our last segment of the day, guys.
Who has bigger balls?
Mitch, who has bigger balls? Who are you bringing to the table today?
Jordan, I was on my drive over to Jackson High School. I was thinking about how I wanted to do this because I thought I had 2 great candidates.
Okay.
And we didn't get to do headlines today. I'm going to go ahead and use the one I had for headlines. But I would like to throw out an honorable mention.
Would you like to do headlines? We can do headlines.
No, because I really didn't have any headlines because I knew this was going to be a short episode. I had saved this over the weekend for headlines like on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, before we leave, we got to update everybody on Thursday. But honorable mention for bigger balls contestant would go out to Evans, one professor at Kent State Start College.
Oh, this is going to be great.
He had a classmate get in a car accident. I believe she's all right, but car accident that put her in the hospital, like severe on the highway type of accident. And their professor will not excuse her work for getting in a car accident. That just screamed like, "Hey, yo, professor, miss, you got some big balls." If that's, it's not culturally appropriate to say that, but that's what we do here on the show. So like that just takes some big balls in and of itself for the professor to say, "No, you got in a car accident, you're in the hospital, tough, should have turned in your work."
That's so blasphemous. That's how you get fired. Like, that's just so ridiculous.
I said, Evan, that's not going to stand. I said, her family will call the school and she will be in trouble if she tries to make that stand up. But Jordan, my actual candidate for this segment.
Okay. Here we
go. That was honorable mention.
All right.
Is a teacher from the UK. He's been banned for teaching for 3 years. But why, you might ask? Well, he took his pupils to a strip club while drunk.
Wow. That's how does that happen?
That was my first reaction. Like, how on earth does it like is he just saying he's taking these kids on a field trip in the middle of the day for lunch and like next thing you know they're going to a strip club? Like, one, what type of strippers are at a strip club at noon? Like, I don't know. Can someone answer me that out there in the ball pit? Like, are there?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, I mean, I didn't even realize strip clubs open that early. Or is like he picking up these kids from their houses at like midnight and taking them to the strip club? Like, that's what I want to know. And also, is there no age limit in strip clubs over there in the UK? How are you just walking in with your pupils into a strip club?
Well, I mean, are we talking about college or high school right now?
It just says it was a teacher. That's all it said. Man banned. The headline was "Man banned from teaching after taking pupils to a strip club."
I hope to God that was a college professor. It's a little more. It's not. There's no excuse for it. I mean, honestly, you know what? It's a moral thing. If you want to go to strip clubs and take your students to strip clubs and they want to go with you, have at it. Who am I? My morals are a little different. But that has nothing to do with our ethics. So I don't know if we can be upset about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just found that hysterical.
That's hilarious.
I know that our other host and contributor Sam Summers would never do such a thing.
Oh no,
not as a teacher. Mm-mm. He's better than that.
Well, Mitch, that's a pretty good one. I don't know if it's good enough for this one though. I would love to give you a graphic if this will pop up. Nope, it's not ready. Anywho, my candidate, and I gotta replay this. I gotta get some energy back.
Who has bigger balls?
Who has bigger balls? Well, is it Keith Adams? See, Keith Adams is a Florida man accused of trying to smuggle, wait for it, drugs into a jail using a prosthetic leg. Keith Adams was arrested trying to smuggle fentanyl and Xanax into jail using his prosthetic leg. A Florida man allegedly tried to smuggle. Okay, why do they just keep saying the same sentence over again? He's 37. I wish you could see this photo. You would not be surprised at all that this man tried to do that. But allegedly, he had a lot of cocaine as well on him, and he resisted arrest earlier in the day before. I'm pretty sure he tried to get purposefully thrown in jail with his prosthetic leg with the drugs, which is something out of a movie.
That's some El Chapo type shit also.
It definitely is. Yeah, it was just seemed pretty impressive to me. Man, those are some good.
Those are good. I feel like you and I both, like, when we think we have a really good candidate that outweighs the other one, we're just like, oh yeah, like yours wins or yours win. Like, I'm sitting over here thinking, these guys both have big balls.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I don't know which one necessarily is bigger. If we want to put a poll out, we can. All I know is that's our last segment of
Who has bigger balls?
Mitch,
it is.
Thank you for setting up today. You didn't have to do this, but you love everybody out in the ball pit so much that you took the time to, before broadcasting for a couple hours, doing the show. And I appreciate you. And I need you to know that.
You. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you and all the listeners.
Yeah, it's definitely not Thursday, April 22nd. Looks like I put the wrong graphic on the screen, guys. It's April 28th. But
you know what is? You know what is on Thursday? Our NFL draft preview.
I forgot about that.
Draft is going on. So Thursday, I think 7:30. We say.
Yep, 7:30.
7:30 with our NFL expert and mock draft genius, Mitch Farnsworth. And guys, let me tell you, you can look at all these other experts' mock drafts, but like when it comes to somebody like you or I, like this guy should be signed on a network. The amount of hard work and dedication he's put in for this stuff. It's crazy. We're excited to have him join us live on Thursday. We're going to start before the draft, and then we're going to have live reactions throughout the draft. Like, let's be honest, we already know who's going number 1 and number 2. The real draft starts at number 3. So, Jordan, I'm excited for Thursday. I'm excited for the draft to come to Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm excited to do our first ever Cover Your Balls NFL draft show.
Giddy up. Mitch, go Polar Bears. Get the game.
Go Bears.
Get that W. Guys, we'll see you at 7:30.
Quick look at the squad out here today. Taking BP right now. Hold on. Let's see if this clears up.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. There we are. And back there, I don't know if you can see him, but there's Tyler Egan, loyal listener in the ball pit, just getting eaten alive by balls on the turf.
Love to see it. Go get some, Tyler. Mitch, stay thirsty.
Oh, I'm thirsty.
We're out.
Go Bears.
The Bears.